What's going on, everybody? This is Jason from Song Travel Eats, and today I've got something really cool. These are some jalapeno poppers. These are super easy to replicate at home, and you can change the recipe if there's a couple ingredients in here that you don't like. And the one thing that I really like to do is to make recipes that are interchangeable based on the ingredients that you have. Once you have a good set of skills for creating flavors and profiles of what you like to eat or what your guests like to eat, there's really no reason why you have to follow everybody's particular recipe. So I try to make things that you can interchange this for that or this for that. So what we've got for you, these jalapeno poppers, this is the way that I make them. You can change it up, like I said. So the first thing we've got is I've got a little whipped cream cheese. I'm waiting for this to come to temperature. I prefer the whipped cream cheese. It's just got a better consistency, and it's a little bit easier to work with than the regular just plain cream cheese. So I'm letting this just come to room temperature while we're working with everything else. I've got some kalamata olives. These things have already been pre-sliced. I've got a little handful of just some cilantro. I've got a couple lime wedges here that are ready to go, and I've already pre-diced some red bell pepper, just a little bit of it. So I'm gonna take the bell pepper, and that's gonna go right into my pot, or my mixing bowl. And today I'm only making I got 6 of these little dice. It's just for me and the wife, so there's not too much that I need to make. But if you were making a large batch of this, you can obviously extrapolate this recipe out. So to that red bell pepper, I'm gonna add a little bit of minced garlic. Got about half a teaspoon in here. Love garlic. No red-blooded Italian would say no to that. And then I'm gonna take my cilantro and I'm just gonna give it a really nice rough chop. And this is just to bring some freshness into this recipe, right? Just wanna get some of that really nice kind of herbaceous notes. And that cilantro just gives a nice element of freshness. So I've got my cilantro, and that's gonna go in, and I'm gonna do everything that I need first on my cutting board and with my knives and with my utensils before I go ahead and touch those jalapenos, because those things will pack a wallop if you start touching your eyes and your face with everything. I've got my oven preset to 375, so that's over there preheating. And then I'm gonna take a half a lime, and I'm just gonna squeeze some fresh lime juice right into that. That's going in there. And again, you know, this is just the way that I make it, and if you make it the same way, awesome. I really appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. But feel free to change up these ingredients. Feel free to kind of use this as a guideline or as a base to kind of impart your own flavors. I think that's what cooking is all about. It's about building on what other people have done and kind of taking the basic knowledge and starting to make it your own. All right, so we've got our peppers, our garlic, we've got our cilantro. We're gonna hit this with a little bit of salt and just a little bit of fresh black pepper. And then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna grab about 2 tablespoons of those kalamata olives. And again, this is just based on my recipe. But if you don't like black olives, or if you don't like kalamata olives, change it out for black olives. Change it out for green olives. If you don't like olives, don't use them at all. Don't feel like you're locked into it. Now these were already halved and pitted, but what I'm gonna do, because they're going into such small surface area item, I'm just gonna try to give these as best of a rough chop down as I can. I really want to just get these nice and small, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything into a bag, and I'm going to try to squirt that into the jalapeno. So the smaller these items are, the better it's going to be. All right. So, you know what I've been looking for all afternoon, and I guess it's fitting because here it is. I've got my handy bench scraper. So I've got my olives in there. It's good. All right, now what I recommend, and again, please be very careful with these jalapenos. grabs yourself some gloves. Kitchen supply store, Amazon, wherever you're shopping, get a pair of these rubber gloves for when you're working with some kind of chilies like this or hot peppers, because it's gonna save you, it's gonna save your eyes. It's just gonna be much easier to work with, and you're not gonna be at the emergency room with stinging hands after working with these jalapenos. So let's get some of this out of the way. Now this cream cheese is just about starting to come to temperature. So I'm gonna take about half of this. This is 8 ounces, so I'd say call this about 4 ounces worth of cream cheese right into the bowl. And then I'm gonna get those gloves on now that pretty much everything is done. And I'm gonna go ahead and working with my jalapenos. So, if you wanted to use this recipe and not put a jalapeno in it, if you wanted to put this in some other kind of pepper, you certainly could. But I'm gonna use jalapenos here. So, I'm gonna use one hand to kind of interact with them. And the other hand I'm just gonna use to keep my knife going. So, I'm gonna cut the tops off of my jalapenos. Perfect. And then what I want to do is, normally if you've got a paring knife or if you've got a smaller knife, you're going to want to get in here and kind of work out those stems and seeds and just give that a twist, and that will hollow out whatever you got going on in there. So you can see I've got a nice hollow area to work with. I've taken out the stems and the seeds, so a lot of that heat, that inherent heat that's usually in the pepper, is going to be gone here. So I don't have to worry too much about dealing with a lot of heat. And Dakota's getting ready to eat soon, so she's barking in the background, so my apologies for that. All right, so we're just gonna get the rest of these cleaned out. And I know that oven is just about ready to come up to temperature. And now as I'm starting to clean these out, I'm actually seeing that they're starting to break down, which is okay. So there's a little slice there. And you know what? If you can't really get the knife down in there all that well, cut them down into half and then go ahead and just fill them like that. It's okay, it's not a problem. So, it's, you know, when you're picking these, try to grab the bigger, rounder ones, because it'll just make this hollowing out and filling process a little bit easier than if you're working with a smaller one. And again, I definitely recommend making sure that you've got these gloves on, because I don't think that these jalapenos are hot until you'll feel them on your skin. And one year, I made the mistake of, I put my hands in the water. I cleaned the jalapenos in a pot, and then I'd clean the pot afterwards with bare hands that had water in it, and that water got into my hands, and I had a cut, and it was bad. So all right, so I've got all my jalapenos ready. I've got all of this ready. I'm going to take this glove off so that I can go ahead and work back with my ingredients again. And I'm going to grab my whisk or my spatula, and I'm just going to push all my ingredients together and kind of get them going into a really nice kind of whipped cream scenario here. And what's great about this is that all of this is cooked, so you can give this a taste in terms of seasoning. And if you like hot, feel free. Add a little bit of chili powder to this, add some crushed red pepper. You know, whatever works for your palate, for your guests. So we're gonna give this a taste. That's really good. I'm just gonna hit that with a little bit more black pepper, just to make sure we're really well seasoned. And that's all mixed together. You know what goes really well with cream cheese too is dill. If you wanted to put some dill in here, if you wanted to use some oregano, you can do that. I like the freshness of the cilantro. It kind of all just works together. So the last thing I'm gonna do before I get to stuffing these peppers is I'm gonna take all of this, and if you've got a pastry bag, that's great. I don't do a whole lot of baking, so I don't keep pastry bags in the house. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this Ziploc bag and get everything, don't spill the salt, to get everything into the bag. And then I'm gonna seal it and just kind of push everything down the best that I can to the bottom of the bag. And I want to kind of put everything right in the corner. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut the corner of that sucker right off. This is where we were talking about making sure that the ingredients are really nicely diced, because if they were too thick, they'd get stuck inside of that bag when I go ahead and stuff these. So my stove is just about ready at 350. We've got everything that we need inside the bag. I've got my other glove back on, and I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna squeeze it right inside my jalapeno. Super easy. And then over here, I've got some parchment paper down on a tray. And these bad boys are gonna go into the oven for 25 minutes at 375. And I'm gonna take a peek and see how they're doing. So again, if you don't wanna use cream cheese, if there's something else that you wanna use, if you didn't wanna use the olives, if you didn't wanna use the red peppers, no harm, no foul, guys. Super easy. This is just the way that I make them. So I'm gonna spread them out a little bit. I've got 6 of these guys ready to roll. And then I'm gonna save a little bit of this because I'm just gonna top them at the end, because a lot of that cream cheese is gonna get a really nice crust on the outside and it's gonna get baked. So when I'm finished, I'm just gonna kind of drizzle these a little bit. And I saved one of these lime wedges to just give it a really nice kind of squeeze at the top. So that's all there is to it. I've got my jalapeno poppers here ready to go. I'm gonna get these into the oven and I'll check back with you in just a few minutes. What's going on, guys? So I got my jalapeno poppers. They came out of the oven. They're looking great. What I did is I plated them up. I took the rest of the cream cheese frosting that I had, or frosting, the rest of the cream cheese mixture that I had, and I added a little bit of honey to it because you've got a lot of heat that are going to be in these jalapenos, and I want something that's going to cool it down in addition to that cream cheese and the rest of the ingredients that are in there. So I added just a couple drizzles of honey just to give it some of that sweetness and that balance. Took a fresh squeeze of lime, added that in, and then what you've got here is that these really nice jalapeno poppers and cream cheese dip. I know they're good. And man, those jalapenos are hot. Woo! Say a little bit of that cream cheese to kind of cool everything down. That's why it's the perfect dish for appetizers. Shoot, you can make it the most of these, put them out as an entree. So I've got my jalapeno poppers here. I've got my margarita going on over here. This is shaping up to be a pretty good meal. So I hope you guys like the video. Remember to like, subscribe, and as always, bring your appetite. We'll see you again on another episode. Cheers, everyone.